morning, everybody. I hope you've been to the Motoblog because it's now past the 25th of the month, and on the Motoblog we're doing not my favorite colors Moto, but letters to Santa. We've moved on from my favorite colors from Moto, but I'm still back there for some reason. That was crazy. I don't know where that came from, but anyway, with all this letters to Santa going on around me, it looks like I would have remembered. But anyway, it's letters to Santa, and on the blog, it's got the new words, wishes, jingle bells, mitten, Santa, and pie. And that's all ready for you to download. And then, we're going to be using our pattern from Primitive Gatherings. And to make the letters, that's where you get the instructions on how to get the letters. You go to Moto's blog and you download the spacing and how to put the words together. So here they are. Here are the words: pie, wishes, Santa. Now and here's mittens and jingle bells. Now for the actual quilt, they're using the solids, the Bella solids, for the original quilt. And we have all those here in stock. All you have to do is call the orders department. Peter will put a link into the orders department. You call the orders department and they can certainly hook you up with a bundle of the Bella solids. And that's what the original quilt was made out of. Of course, you can make the letters out of anything you want. So here's what you download as far as the spacing goes, and the borders and the sashing, and for each word. So there's your Santa and your mitten. Now, when it came to gingerbread, they gave you an alternate word, jingle bells. And they talk to you about that. So that's why it's so fun to go to the Motoblog. Here's a picture of the pattern, which you all should have by now if you're doing the sew-along. And then Michelle stayed up all night and came up with this brilliant idea to do an extra project with the word pie. And she made this wonderful table runner with the word pie. And she used the wreath extra block and the star extra block. See that? To fill in the middle of that. And then she just used some, she probably tells you in here what colors she used. We can get any of this. We may even have some. I didn't even check to see if we had that fabric in stock. But if we don't, we can certainly get it for you. But that was fun, and you can download that for free from the Motoblog. Well, how do I get to the Motoblog, Dawn? You go to your search engine, you put in Motoblog, and it's called the cutting table. So when you get to the Moto website, there's a thing that says Moto cutting table. You click on that, and then it'll open up and show all the sew-alongs. And so she gives you, again, the pattern for the star, which we already have, and then the layout for the runner. Isn't that fun? So make sure that you head over there, because that's where we're going to find the patterns for our next 3 filler blocks. The tree, the second tree. I just put candy canes in my tree, hanging some candy canes on the branches. And this gift is so dang cute. That could be a birthday present. It could be an anniversary present. It could be anything. And so what would be fun is, and I know they showed this on the Motoblog, but I wanted to show you that you can make letters. This is the whole alphabet with some extra vowels and extra stuff. And all we did was we just took the letter, we did a little pocket, we slipped a piece of batting in there, we tucked under the opening, we top stitched it, and then we just quilted and made a little quilt. It's a little tiny quilt out of each letter. And then we got these like at the Hobby Lobby. They're so cute. They're little, look at them. They're little tiny clothespins. Aren't those so cute? And we put them on there, and you can take some baker's twine and hang them as a little banner. They could say anything you want. If you have the letters already made, you can change them for whatever occasion that you want to. And of course, my favorite occasion is my sweet little Chloe. And I got a new t-shirt, and I misspelled Chloe's name on the t-shirt. Oh no! So we were informed today that we have this new embroidery service here at the store. So I might bring my t-shirt in and have Chloe's real name, the real spelling of Chloe's name put on my t-shirt. Oh my goodness. I have always spelt it C-H-O-L-E. But it is actually C-H-L-O-E. But what's fun with these letters is if you misspell something, you don't have to erase it or anything. You just change the letters. Isn't that funny? So, but I've always spelled it C. How do you really spell it? Can you spell it?
I've seen it spelled 3 different ways.
Have you really? So it could be correct if I spelled it that way.
I've seen it spelled 3 different ways.
Really? Okay, well then maybe I won't have it changed because that's the way I've always spelt it. But I looked on her daddy's her daddy's Facebook today, and he spells it C-H-L-O-E. So that's the way I'm going to have to start spelling it, I guess. Now, what I'm using in my extra blocks is this bundle of fabric that we have, and I forget the name of this collection. Do you remember, Peter?
Not off the top of my head.
Hey, Nancy! Nancy's not in the room. Well, anyway, we have a kit made up of this collection, and it is
Candy Cane Lane.
Oh, there we go. Peter, you're so smart looking at the salvage. Candy Cane Lane.
Well, you learn a few things hanging out at the quilt shop.
Yes, you do. You'd think I would have known that. So anyway, it comes with a few blacks, comes with some whites, some reds, and some greens. So that's what I've been using along with my background. And I'm not going to tell you what background I use, just simply because you can use any background. You can use a solid, you could use a light grunge, you could use a tone on tone. I used a white on white. And so anything that's not directional, because if you use something directional, you're going to just drive yourself crazy trying to keep that in line. So I think that's it. I'm going to show you how to sew these 3 blocks because one of them is foundation pieced.
Ooh.
So Peter's going to come over to the sewing machine with me, and we're going to do that. Okay, we're here at the sewing machine, and these are the 3 alternate blocks. The package and 2 Christmas trees. Now, if you read, and I know we don't always like to do that, but this states that these are alternate trees. Yes. You can use some of each, or you can use all of one, or all of the other. This one is foundation pieced. This one is the typical patchwork pieced. Okay, so I'm going to teach you both, but you can choose to use both, or you can choose to use 2 of these and 1 of these, or 2 of these and 1 of these. But you need a combination of 3 of the trees and 3 of the packages. All right? You don't need 3 of each of the trees. You only need a total of 3 trees. I hope you understand that. So I'm going to start out by showing you. This is a very, very simple foundation piece method of making a tree. And I'm going to use my paper cutting scissors. Now you're going to have to print for however many of these trees you want to make. You're going to have to print that many pieces of this paper. All right, and I've just used my paper cutting scissors to cut it out. Cut it out. And we're going to actually sew on the paper. That's why it's called foundation paper piecing, because we're actually going to use the paper as our foundation. Now, it's a lot different than English paper piecing, where you actually are wrapping the fabric around the paper. Okay, so that's just kind of a little tip there I wanted to give you on what the difference was. And a lot of people get that confused. A lot of people say paper piecing, and you just don't know what they mean because they haven't said English paper piecing or foundation piecing. So what I did is I went ahead and cut my pieces, and I put them on with a little clip on the paper. So if you wanted to organize yourself that way and cut out your pieces and then just clip them to the piece of paper to keep yourself organized, that really seemed to help me. I'm going to lay the blocks out on my little sheet here. And some things that I like to use when I am foundation paper piecing is this Sewline fabric glue pen. Now I use this for a lot of applications, especially if I'm doing wool applique, any kind of applique, this pen comes in really handy. It's just fabric glue that it dries clear and is water soluble. So when you glue something down, when you wash it, it all goes away. It's not in your on your fabric any longer. But what I like about it is it's kind of just a temporary hold. It's not really meant to glue something down and have it be permanent, okay? So it works sort of like a pen without being a straight pen. So I use this for a lot of applications. And then the other thing that I use and is a must-have for when you're foundation paper piecing is an add-a-quarter ruler. Now there are three kinds. There's this little 6-inch add-a-quarter ruler. There's the 12-inch add-a-quarter ruler, and then there's the add-a-quarter plus. Now this is my favorite one, and the reason being is because it's beveled really sharp on one end. See how thin that is right there? And then on the other side, there's a lip, and that's what you butt the fabric up and cut so that you get an exact 1/4 inch. And I'm going to demonstrate that to you so that you can kind of understand where I'm going with that. So first of all, I'm going to get my foundation. My first piece, fabric A, is this. Now this is where I'm going to be sewing, is on the printed side. So I'm actually going to put my fabric on the back side, the unprinted side. Now I'm using this directional fabric. You can see that the dark trees go up and the light trees go down. It's kind of a fun little print. Trees made out of tree fabric. How fun is that, right?
That's a lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun. Trees on trees. And what I would normally do is I'd normally put a little tiny bit of glue right there, and I glue that down so that that wouldn't move. But I forgot my glue stick today, so I am going to use a pen. But I don't like to use a pen because it kind of gives the fabric a little weird bump. So I prefer not to do that. So that's where I am with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the numbers. This is fabric 1. This is fabric 2. So it goes next. And this is the reason I don't like to use pens, is because I can't lay that flat. I'm going to take that pin out for right now. I wish I would have brought my glue stick. But I use this beveled edge and I put it right along the sewing line that I'm going to sew, and I fold that over. Okay? I fold that over and I crease that. And then I use my add-a-quarter little groove, and I bump that up against the fabric. Against the paper. Then I use my rotary cutter, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut away that excess fabric. Now I'm going to put the pin back in so that my fabric doesn't move. Before I flip it over, because now I got to flip it over. See how much easier it would be if I had had that glue stick?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm going to take my fabric number 2, and because mine's a white on white, I have to make sure that I put right sides together. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up along that edge I cut, because this is a weird angle, and what's going to happen is it's going to fold back. And if I just put it straight like this and sewed, well, first of all, if I put it straight like that and sewed, look what would happen. I wouldn't have enough fabric over here. See that? So that angle and that line is really important to establish before I ever even get started, because what I'm literally doing is sewing backwards. So I've got that on there, and it's all together there. It's all lined up. That's what I wanted to say. It's all lined up. And now I'm going to sew on that line. And I am going to lower my stitch length a little bit. And the reason being for that is because I've got to tear this paper away. All right? So I'm going to lower my stitch length. I like to lower it to about 1.5. This machine gives me the choice of 1.8 to 1.5. So I'm going to go for the smaller one, and I'm going to go 1.5. You dial yours to about half of what it normally is, and you'll be fine. And I'm just going to sew on that line. Now my pin's getting in the way. And by lowering your stitch length, it also doesn't take as big a bite, so it's easier to stay on the line. All right. So see how I've got that sewn now, and it's sewed right there along that edge. So now, typically, I would press that back like that. And I did that on mine, you can see, but boy, it does not lay flat. Feel there's a lump right there, and right there. So I am going to press this open. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do it right now. I'm going to have to do it once I take the papers off, okay? Because I'm going to have to sew. It's going to sew right there. Okay, I'm going to have to do it this way first. I'm pressing that open so it lays flat. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it back down, and I'm going to get ready to sew on the other side. I'm going to take this out now because I've already got that fabric established with that first seam. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold this back. Okay. And I'm going to take fabric number 3. Oh, wait a minute. No, I've got to... Forgot to... Got the whole purpose of folding that back is to cut a 1/4 inch away from the sewing line. So where I folded it on the line, that's the sewing line. And now I did that. I can turn that over. I can again put the fabric's right sides together. Turn that over and sew right on the line again. Now some foundation papers, patterns are really intricate. And you can get the weirdest, funnest shapes by doing foundation piecing. And it's really fun once you get the hang of it. But it is sewing backwards, okay? So now what's going to happen is typically I would go ahead and sew this bottom piece after I make it, this piece right here before I tore the papers off. But if I do that, I'm not going to be able to open my seam. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the excess off by simply just following these lines that are on the outside. Now the dotted line is my seam line. So I definitely do not want to cut my seam line. I want to cut a 1/4 inch away from my seam line because this is going to be my actual block size. And see how I've just trimmed all that excess away? See that? Now I'm going to remove the papers. And because I lowered my stitch length, do you see how easy that paper is to tear off? It doesn't disturb my stitch line because my stitch line is so close. And now look, I have my block. And now I'm going to go in and open my seam. And you will see the difference between this and the block I made at home following the normal way of paper foundation piecing. I just am so used to my blocks laying so flat. I'm gonna have to fudge right there. Okay. So now there is the beginning of my piece. There is a lot of waste in foundation piecing, but I'm going to save these because I know I can get a 1-inch block out of that corner right there. You know how I am about frugalness in my fabrics. I'm very frugal with my fabrics. So now I'm going to sew this together, and it's going to be the trunk of my tree. I'm just going to do regular piecing. I don't know why my cutter didn't work. I think I was too Speedy Gonzales on the bringing up the presser foot. So let's just get this done real quick so that I can sew it on the bottom. There we go, let that complete its cycle. I'm using white thread because my background is white. I'm going to press that open. And now, just like if I hadn't even foundation pieced this, I'm going to lay that up there. Right along that line. I don't know why it's a little big. This piece is supposed to measure, I don't know what it's supposed to measure. Okay, let me look on the pattern. It'll tell you right on the pattern. Now, don't forget to clear your machine out so it goes back to sewing the regular way. because if you don't, you're going to be there all day sewing, because when you lower the stitch length, it takes a little longer to sew the seam because it's taking itty bitty bites. Okay, so you can see I've got my trunk there. I wonder what size this is supposed to be. Let's see. Trim finished foundation piece is supposed to be 3.5 by 4.5. So let's get our little ruler here.
Oh, really? Yeah, just click that.
It is 3.5. So I'm just going to cut this little excess off.
That's a good idea,
I must have cut one of these little pieces longer than it should have been. Oh well, so sad. Okay, how cute is that?
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cute?
That's a beautiful block.
Yeah. So
I can
now,
make a whole forest.
now when I said 3.5 by 4.5, that was just exactly what the foundation piecing was supposed to be. Now that we've added this on, let me tell you what it's gonna be. When you sew it on, it is 5.5. So at this point, if you want to make not a correction, but a memo, it's 4.5. No, it's 3.5. Excuse me. 3.5 by 5.5. When the trunk, that's when the trunk is sewn on. Okay, so I just made a little notation. When the trunk is sewn in, it is 3.5 by 5.5. That'll just give you a little reference there, okay? So then, you're going to sew your sides on. We're not going to take time to do that today. But it tells you what size to cut them. Obviously, 5.5, right? So there you go. There you go. And then once you get the sides sewn on, then you're going to sew on the top and the bottom. Now, it looks like the bottom and the top are a little bit short, but you've got to remember you're going to have a seam allowance right there that's going to take that in, and then it'll become the same size. So there's what the block looks like. There's the one I made at home. Look at how much flatter that lays. I don't know if they can tell. How much
Hold
flatter? Okay.
I'll tell them. Oh,
Okay.
wow.
But now feel that.
Oh, yeah.
See
that
how
one's got a bump.
lumpy?
That's lumpy oatmeal right there.
Uh-huh. And that's because I
All
did
those
not,
points.
yeah, I did not
Let me see if I
open
can
that
focus
seam.
and you can show them all that fabric in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See all that?
That's a lot of
That's
business.
a lot of bulk right there. So I really like to open seams, and there's a good reason why right there. So now I'm going to put all that back with my little clip. I'll sew this together when I get home and have it all ready to go in my quilt. But I'm going to put it back on my paper with this clip. Last week, I put it together, last month, I put them in paper plates, and my paper plates fell over, and my pieces, didn't get them back in the correct order. So I'm going to put all this away. And let's go to the next tree. Now the next tree was pretty fun for me because you know that old saying, measure twice, measure twice, cut once. Well, I put a call into Michelle. I said, Michelle, there's a mistake in the pattern. And then I called her right back and said, never mind, Michelle, because I was going crazy with all these measurements and it wasn't working out. Well, it's because I cut these strips wrong. So, duh. So again, cut once, cut twice, measure twice, cut once. This is the tree we're making, but this tree is going to look a lot different than the tree we're making. Just saying. Okay. So I always like to lay the block out. See, it looks like those would have gone that way, but because it didn't fit, I knew they go that way. Okay? So there's that. And then I have to make 3 flying geese units. And I was using directional fabric. So there's the top of my tree. And I already went ahead and sewed on one of my wings of my flying geese. But I wanted to sew one with you, one complete one with you. I'm going to take my fabric and put them right sides together. And the little square goes on top of the rectangle. And when I sew a flying geese, I very, very seldom, well, almost never, sew from the point up to here. I always sew here first down to the point because I don't want to risk that going down into my faceplate. This gives me more stability with that big long piece underneath me. So I'm going to sew from diagonal to diagonal. Now the pattern says to draw a line. I'm not going to draw a line. I had to make 8 of these, or 6, 3 and 3 is 6. I had to make 6 of these, and I was not going to draw 12 lines. That takes a lot of time. I got to take my shoes off. I don't know why I didn't have those off already. I used my tape. Now, I don't know if you know about this tape or not. I've talked about it before, but this is some tape we have here in the store, and it's just like washi tape, and you put it on, and you line up your stitch, your needle, and your thread, your stitch line, with this red line. So I know if I put a point, or if I put anything there and guide it through all the way with that red line, I know that it's going to be straight with my sewing line. So I can just take the point and sew it on. Without drawing a line, I can sew from point to point. Once that is sewn on and trimmed, see, I trimmed it and pressed the seam open. Once I do that, I'm going to put the second wing on. And again, sew from diagonal to diagonal. I set the diagonal right at my needle there, and I'm watching this point right here, and it's right here on my needle line, and I just feed that right into my machine, and I know that that's perfectly straight. When that first piece comes off, I could, if this was a larger piece, move over a 1/2 inch, sew again, and then I could have a little baby. But this piece is not big enough. The baby would be way too small to do anything sewing with. But if it's a 2.5 inch, this is only 2 inch. If it were a 1/2 inch, I could move over. If it were 2.5 inches, I'm sorry, I could move over and still get a 1.5 inch baby out of that. Okay, so here's the other one of that. Now you must press that first one before you put the second one on, just simply because if you don't, that's going to be permanently sewn down and you won't be able to get that first wing in place. So you can see that I pressed that first. Now I'm going to cut that off with my clapper. I'm going to open that seam. I love having this little iron right here beside me at my sewing table. And then this is going to be my tree. 3 flying geese to make a Christmas tree. Isn't that fun? And again, I'm using directional fabric, so I wanted to make sure my candy canes were all hanging from the tree, not upside down on the tree. I'm gonna sew, you know what? I'm just gonna use the one from over here, from the original tree. No, I sewed it on, didn't I? Never mind, I have to sew another one. I was gonna say the other tree trunk was exactly the same. Now you saw me put that up there and then I flipped it over, and that's because I like the smallest piece to be on top.
Was that for the flying goose?
This is the tree trunk.
Oh, tree trunk.
This is the tree trunk.
Yeah, I like the smallest piece on top too.
Yeah, you can kind of see
I tried
what
it.
it's doing.
I tried it one time the other way. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, well, you can see what the piece is doing, if it should be moving any or, you know, doing anything funky. You don't want funkiness going on. So you just, now see, this now becomes the larger piece because I've sewn that together. And so now I put this piece on top of that because it now is the smallest piece. All relevant to what you're doing. I'm just too quick on the draw for that cutter. It doesn't want to keep up with me. That's why it's not cutting good. I'm going to press these seams open. Okay, now this is where it's going to be different. In the pattern, let's look at the pattern. It tells you to do what we just did. And then it says take one of the trees, one of the sections that measures 2 inches by 3.5, and that's this one right here. That's going to be the top of my tree. I'm going to lay it to the top. And then take 2 of the tree sections and trim off the top point of the unit so that they measure 1 3/4 by 3.5. And I thought that should be 1.5. It's supposed to be 1 3/4. So let's do that at this time. Let's take the 2 that we're going to trim. Let's take our ruler and let's trim it to 1 3/4. So I'm lining this up. I'm lining the bottom of the goose at the 1 3/4 line. And what I'm actually cutting off is 1/4 inch, and it's the seam allowance. We worked so hard on those flying geese to get the points, and now we're going to cut them off.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Because it's a
Yeah.
tree.
See the difference there? So when this sews 1/4 inch down, it's going to leave a flat space. And so see on the tree
Uh-huh.
how they're not all pointed? How funny that would look if it were 3 points. Well, so when I got mine sewn, it looked like that, and I thought that wasn't enough. I thought that was still too pointy. So I went back and cut another 1/4 inch off of mine.
I like Dawn's tree.
We're gonna see which one you like better.
I already like that one
You
better.
already do?
I already-
Well, I'm going to
already know.
give you the measurements for it if you like that one better, okay? So what we're going to do, though, for this one, we're going to cut it just like it says. It's supposed to be 1 3/4. 1 3/4. Let me trim this little bottom off a little bit there because I had it sticking out. Okay, so now when I sew this together, I'm going to take one of those that I've chopped off and I'm going to sew it on to the top, to the pointed part. And you can pin if you want to. I'm usually a big pinner.
Are you going to pin Dawn?
I'm not going to pin today.
Oh.
I can just hold this down with my finger.
Hey, that's how I do it.
And it's not such a big piece. And then I'm going to
Dawn's gone rogue.
I've gone rogue. And then I'm going to take this, my trunk, and I'm going to sew it to the last layer of the tree. And they should be the same width. The width we haven't messed with. We've only messed with the length. The height, I mean. Not the length, the height. Alrighty. Now I'm going to press this one open. And now you can kind of see the difference and see how this one is not as pointy as that one. So the tree is stumpier, I'd say. You'll see
It looks more stable. Your tree does.
well, it's
Like if the wind blows.
if you're hanging big old heavy candy
Or-
canes on it, you
or
need
if-
some
Or if
substantial.
what was that guy from Santa's Coming to Town with the axe, and he was digging for gold,
Oh yeah, I forget
and
his
he
name.
Cornelius.
Cornelius.
Yeah, Cornelius. So if Cornelius, came with his axe, I think your
Yeah.
tree would stand his axe.
Yeah.
That other tree, not so much.
Not so much.
That tree's fallen.
Now again, I have cut one of those longer than it should be. This should equal 3.5. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that to 3.5. If you have to do some trimming, that's okay. It's better to have more fabric than not enough, right, Peter?
Yes. Always
so I'm
have
gonna
more.
Trim that to 3.5. 3.5. So there we go. So now I'm going to put this section and this section together. I'm not going to pin.
Are you gonna pin?
I've just gone
Dawn's
mad.
gone rogue.
I'm telling you, I've gone
Someone with
mad.
their shoes on, not pinning.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see what
is
Cappy's expression is.
The sky
Cappy's
is
like,
falling. The sky is falling.
What's going on over there?
Okay, so now I'm going to press that open. You're going to get to see exactly how different the tree looks when you do it like the directions versus how I did it. See how much different the trees
Well, look
look?
at those happy little
This
trees.
one's tall and skinny, and mine's a little fat and stumpy. Okay, so what I had to do was, this is 5.5 inches. Okay, so when you sew on the sides, you sew on the 5.5 inches, and then you sew the top, and they're 5.5 inches, and there you've got your block. And
Boom.
it's exactly like this one is exactly like the directions.
Boom.
Okay? If you want a short and stumpy one, then what you have to do is you cut these two sections 1.5 by 3. And then, again, this is the 1.5 by 3. Okay? But instead of making these 5.5, they're 5. These are 5. Okay? So what I would do is I would, with my pencil, that would be E. I'd mark this, and I'd mark a 5-inch there. Okay? But then on F, I have to bump this up to 1 3/4. Let me measure that just to make sure. I'm pretty sure. One 3/4, correct. So this is 1 3/4 by 5.5. And this is 1.5 by 5. So you got that close up, right, Peter? So
It wouldn't pick it up.
So on the pencil
Yeah.
part,
It didn't pick it up.
it didn't.
If you hold it up in front of the camera, I can do
You
it.
can maybe.
Yeah, hold it flat towards face, like turn it. Hold it like this.
Here, let's put it on this board and see if that makes. Does that make any difference?
Yeah.
So those are the measurements if you want a short stubby tree. And actually, when I line that up with the package, it's the same. See that? Because we cut these, we're going to cut those 1 3/4. So it's the same distance as your package.
I noticed you didn't change the size of that box. You like
Yeah.
the big like the big present, don't you?
In my Christmas quilt, this is going to be front and center, and it's going to be huge. The box, of course, the Christmas present is going to be big, big, big. So, here in the instructions, you need 2 trees. I thought the instructions said you needed 3.
I thought you said
You do
that they
need 3. You do need 3. 1, 2, 3. So you can do all the foundation piecing ones, or you can do some of each. All right? So that's the scoop on that. Again, I'm going to gather up my pieces because I don't want to lose track when I get home. I want to be able to sew this when I get home.
Sew them to your alphabet.
Yep. So I'm going to be putting that on there like
It's
that.
alphabet and pine tree soup.
Right. So there's that. So now all we have to do is the package. The package was fun to do. It's another Flying Geese unit. Michelle, I think, was going to have a heart attack when I said, I think I found a mistake in the pattern. No! You know, because that pattern went out to everybody. Being goofy. Just me being goofy. Okay. I do love, I make myself one of these little boards. I have them in all sizes. They're just foam core covered with some fusible fleece, and then I just glue on a binding. I just love to lay my stuff out so that I can really see where I'm going with my block.
Well, you can get real organized because if you have, several of those stacked up and each different block on it, you just
Right. Yeah, you just
do
go from
one
one
and then
go
move it to the
next.
move it to the next.
Yeah.
Work right through your stack.
Exactly. So this time
That's can I just say the fabric selection for this present is awesome.
Yeah, we have it in kits.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's already bagged up and in a kit for
I mean,
you.
I don't know who makes us our kits and who decides what fabrics goes in them, but we got some good people here.
Yeah.
They really know their stuff.
And the kits are so convenient. And this is just a great Christmas collection.
Oh. the
Even if
fabrics are
you're not
stunning.
doing this project, you still could get the fat quarter bundle
I think it's a good fat quarter bundle just for my
just for your
just
stash.
for my stash. for my
Because-
shelf.
Not a lot of people have a Christmas fabric stash.
Well, and it's got the right amount of reds and greens and
Exactly.
The
And it's
white
got that little
prints
bit
are
of
really
black
cool.
in it,
I like the mixed candy canes.
Yeah.
I love the way the candy canes are mixed.
It's got snow in. It's got all kinds of stuff. Okay, so I'm just making a flying geese just like I did before. I love this plaid fabric.
Me
I could just
too.
have a whole bolt of it
I
because
could
I just
too.
think it's so cute.
That would make a good backing.
Yeah.
Scrumptious.
So, just gonna cut that off, that excess. Press that open. And this is gonna be the cute little bow. I just love this.
There was somebody who had found your or that found our channel that was watching you, Dawn.
Yeah.
And she said that she was going to want to, because she was just starting out, she's wanting to get a lot of the tools for sewing. And I responded back that, we do put most of what you use in the comments below.
Right.
But they can always call too, because we have your own personal shopper
Right.
who can custom tailor your get started sewing kit, or maybe your advanced sewer and you're still sewing with all your beginning tools, you know, you can step up your game.
Right.
Call us.
We'll put you in the know. Put you in the know. Now today is September the 2nd.
September. Is it flannel weather yet?
Is it?
No, is it? I'm asking. I don't know.
It's kind of still warm
Anybody out there wearing any flannel shirts yet?
It's still kind of warm out. I've got my Christmas shirt on. You know, my red shirt, because I'm
Yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah.
letters to Santa.
Yeah, are you warm in that hat?
I'm pretty warm.
Pretty toasty.
Got my Santa hat on for the occasion. You know, we like to have a theme.
Do you get into the pumpkin scone and the pumpkin,
all the
pumpkin stuff?
all the
Yeah.
spice, all the pumpkin
Yeah.
spice stuff. I do
Yeah.
not get into that. But
You don't subscribe? I don't
do
either.
not. I
I'll
do
be honest
not.
with you, I don't either.
Yeah. Now.
Not yet, anyway.
When pumpkin ice cream first came out,
Still keep my mind open.
I was into that, and I do love me some pumpkin cheesecake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care what
Yes.
time of the year it is. I do love me some pumpkin cheesecake.
I could handle some pumpkin cheesecake.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when you eat a pumpkin pie, is it with whipped cream or without?
With.
Oh, of course.
With
okay.
lots.
And then, do you
I
like?
think it's like an equal ratio.
Yeah, and then do you like pecans baked into your pumpkin pie?
I haven't had that.
Peter?
I'm not living my life right, am I?
I'm telling you what. I'm telling you what right now. Even if you go to the store and buy one of them frozen ones
Yeah.
or one from the bakery,
Yeah.
just toss some toasted pecans on top of it.
That sounds amazing.
I'm telling you what, it takes it up a whole notch.
And
Or
then do you
two.
put some like praline ice cream on top too?
Definitely
Double
some
down
ice
on the
cream.
pecans?
If I use ice cream, I don't
Oh,
use
you gotta
whipped
focus.
topping. You know, I don't use whipped topping if I have ice cream. And another rule is that if it's hot, I like it with ice cream.
Yeah.
If it's cold, I like it with whipped cream. My goodness, who knew
I
we had
think-
so many pie rules?
I think I'll take the ice cream, the whipped cream. You know what? Maybe a little slice of cheesecake in there too.
Oh my gosh!
not?
Yes.
Yeah, you get the piece of pumpkin pie, then you get a sliver of the cheesecake and stack that on top, and then you make like a nice tower.
Oh my goodness. Well, the first time I ever had a cheesecake was at a pumpkin cheesecake was I think at the Cheesecake Factory. But now you can pretty much get them, you know, anywhere. They're so good, and how fitting because the extra bonus project
Yeah.
is that pie
Yeah.
table runner, and what a cute little thing to put on your table during the holidays. You know, it could go all the way from September into October, into November. Now, look, I'm going to pin because I want to make sure that
Dawn, are you
point.
pinning?
I am. I'm going to make sure that that point stays in the middle of that block. But anyway, you could get so much use out of this table runner because it could start now, which, you know, a lot of people start their fall decorating and stuff in September. But it could go from now until November because it'd be such a cute thing for Thanksgiving. There are not a lot of things, a lot of decorations for Thanksgiving. And wouldn't that just be so cute? A couple pilgrim statues and a cornucopia in the
yes.
middle of that, and it has the pie on the each
Yes.
side. That would just be so adorable. So, now look at our package! Isn't it so cute?
Okay, so I just decided.
Yeah.
Sitting here filming you, staring at this block over here that's a
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
How cool would it be to embroider names on that? They're presents.
Yes.
Just a simple little embroidered stitch.
Yes. Or you could cross stitch with some waste canvas.
Yes.
Or you could embroider it by hand by taking that, what's that wrap called? That press and seal.
Yeah, press and seal.
You write on the press and seal. You put it on the fabric and it sticks on the fabric, and then you stitch through the press and seal, and then you tear the press and seal off. It is amazing stuff. Okay, I want you to see my package is the opposite.
Oh, I
Isn't-
love it.
See how I made?
I love that.
You're going to
plaid.
make 3 packages,
There's
And
the plaid.
look at this, how I've changed it up.
And then there's the dots with the plaid.
Isn't that so cute?
I love that.
Now, what to do with my third one, I don't know, but I'll come up with something because I've got all that fabric, all those fat quarters to choose from.
You'd have to do a red with a white star.
Yeah, or something pretty.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, I've got all kinds of choices over
Yeah.
there. So, wasn't this a fun one?
I loved it.
Next month, September, this is September, so no, it'd still be this month. September the 25th is when the next installment comes. It'll come on the Motovlog blog first, okay? And then we'll follow up with a video just like we did this month and have some fun time with our letters to Santa. Alrighty, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Dawn, you need some elves.